This is Abnormal Entertainment.
Welcome, everybody, to the Cinema Head Cheese Podshort for Happy. This is Kevin Moyers, and I'll be honest, I really had no idea about the comic book Happy. Came out from Image. It's a Grant Morrison title. Didn't know anything about it. I saw Kurt Belcher, who is the artist on Rotten Tail that Dave Hayes and I wrote. He posted something about it on Facebook. And I read it, and I was like, okay, that's weird. I'm not a cable guy. I haven't had cable in 8 or 9 years now. I do a lot through either I'll rent a movie, I'll go to the movies, or I watch stuff on Netflix or, whatever apps pop up on Roku. Now, after reading his description of it, I had to check it out. Thankfully, SYFY has a Roku app. And you better hurry, because this first episode of Happy will expire in a year. But no, honestly, this is one that I'm going to keep up on every week. It was very interesting. First thing I saw was Chris Meloni, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch that in a comedic type of role. And Patton Oswalt as well. Just an idea for the story to tell you what it's about. It's basically, and I will have spoilers because it's only a single episode of a show, and, sometimes you want a little bit of a spoiler to get you going, like, oh, okay, sounds good. But you start out with a guy who is sort of seemingly a detective, private detective / hitman / just jackass for hire, and his name is Nick. And he's spitting blood into the urinal in this dive bar. He's a complete mess. And, it's Chris Meloni, who I like in comedic roles. The biggest one I can think of is Wet Hot American Summer. I don't really like that movie very much. I know it's a huge cult hit, and it has, the alt comedy fans. I couldn't get into any of that, like Stella or any of that stuff, but he was over the top and campy and silly and talking to a can of peas the whole movie or whatever the fuck it was, and that was about the best part to me. I haven't watched any of the sequels and stuff like that, but if you like that, then you will definitely like him in Happy, because he is a little exaggerated. He is a little over the top. And honestly, my thought on that is, sure, that can be campy, and it can be silly, and it can be a little too much at times, but you also have to remember that this man will spend the entirety of this series talking to a flying, imaginary blue unicorn. Okay? So, you can't complain about him being campy. You really cannot. Because he is talking to a cartoon. And, the whole premise behind the cartoon, it's an imaginary character named Happy. It's voiced by Patton Oswalt. I guess originally supposed to be Bobby Moynihan. I don't know if his, CBS show, got in the way of that. I mean, he's the lead on another show, even though he'd be the title character in this, and I know voiceover is a much different animal altogether. But, it's Patton Oswalt, and he does a good job. I mean, he has cartoon experience, not only Ratatouille, but many others that he's done voiceover for. So, he's also a comic fan, which I wouldn't be surprised if he'd already read this. I know he's mentioned Grant Morrison before, so he's probably a fan in general. But the basic idea was a mom and a daughter, and they go to this like holiday show for this kid show host. He's hosting this live thing in appears to be New York City. It seems like it is. I don't remember if they say in there or not. But, big city, downtown kind of event. If you grew up in a big city, you've probably been to one of those things. I remember, being at one or two in Chicago, meant for kids and it's craziness and big crowds. And the little girl, who is the lead in the show, Haley, I believe her name is. You think I'd remember that? No, it was Haley. She goes through, I'm so doubting myself right now and checking IMDb, I swear to God. But, she kind of skirts away from her mom and tries to get closer to C. And she's talking to Happy the whole time. You don't see him, but she's talking to him and she's like, what do you mean run away? And, you look and there's this homeless, drunken looking Santa guy, and he looks at her and she looks freaked out, and he just opens his coat and it's just blackness. And I'm not entirely sure if there's a supernatural element to that. I don't think so, but anything's possible with this kind of stuff. I didn't read the book, so that's on me. But I hadn't really heard of it. I'm not a big comics reader, so it's fun to find stuff like this that you go, oh, well, what was this? What is this story? And then you go back to it later and find some cool things. So that's always fun with something like this. But yeah, he kidnaps the girl, and the mom's looking everywhere. She can't find her, of course, and she's freaking out. She goes to the police station. They're just kind of disaffected by it. She wants to talk to the chief. Whatever. Like, don't worry, we're on top of it. So, it's just like, come on, man. Why can't you get your shit together here? That's the mom's attitude. Meanwhile, Chris Meloni, who plays Nick, he is given a task to take care of some bad people. And then we see that there's also a hit put out on him, and he is a disgraced cop. So these four mob brothers, sorry, one of them is a young kid who just kind of, like the youngest of the family, just showed up. And they're like, the Scaramucci boys are back. It's a lot of that shit going on. Very stereotypical, like cheesy Italian guys. The Scaramucci brothers are making me. So yeah, a lot of that shit going on, which is pretty funny. But except the young kid, he's not like that. He's more almost like a Ivy League looking kind of kid. But anyway, you see that they go to hit Nick while he's supposed to be visiting this hooker, and he's really arranged the hit on himself so that they would show up. He could get them all in one place together. He wasn't expecting the fourth one. He only got the three, and he takes them out. So while the youngest one, the Ivy League looking kid, he's like, oh, wait, I can give you this password to this encrypted thing, and it's priceless. And he goes, I'm a cash guy, and he kills the kid. But as the kid's dying, he whispers something to Nick, and Nick is having a heart attack basically right next to the kid. He has heart problems. So he's whispering something to Nick, and he, whispers this password. You don't hear it, but so now this thing is passed on, and there are crooked cops, mob people that are after Nick to get this password, because the hooker witness said to one of the crooked cops, he whispered something to him about a password, so that's how they know Nick has it. And again, while that's going on, so many things happening at once here, Haley is being, she's in a wooden crate, and the weird Santa guy is drilling holes in it for her to breathe. She's freaking out in there. And you get through Happy's point of view, you start hearing his voice. Oh my God, okay. And he's looking, where is he? And he finds Nick. And finds Nick in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. They're trying to, get him back from the heart attack. And Nick thinks he's seeing shit. And he thinks it's funny at first because, he knows he just went through a heart attack and he's probably delusional and they got him on meds and shit. And he's like, okay, I need to sleep. Wakes up in the hospital, ready to go, and now he's still seeing this fucking thing. And now you see him, a lot more. And he thinks he's imagining it, thinks it's, in his head. And at one point, there's some really bad people coming. One guy called Smoothie, who's this creepy hitman, threatens to slice up Nick's dick as he has him strapped down. His 4 goons have him strapped down. But they're in the hallway, and he asks Happy, he goes, how many of them are there? Happy's like, you gotta run. He goes, how many are there? He goes, there's 5. He's like, all right, I can handle 5. But he's still kind of falling, shaky from waking up from the heart attack. And, as they're trying to escape the hospital, he's like, wait a second. If you're a figment of my imagination, how did you know there were 5? And then how did you know this? He goes, what the fuck? And there's a moment there, Happy's like, because, I don't know, I just went in the hall and counted, And Nick's really starting to get confused. Where did this thing come from? Why can it see shit? He's starting to realize this is real. And Happy keeps saying, we have to save Haley, we have to save Haley, we have to save Haley. And I think at the moment Nick starts to realize this is a real thing. And only I can see him. Why is that? There's a great moment where he's jumping into an elevator and he reaches out and he grabs Happy by the throat and pulls him in. And I just went, Roger Rabbit. I just snapped right into that. Holy shit. We are now getting a modern day Roger Rabbit. Drunk cop, crazy cartoon partner, going to save the day. I was just like, oh my God. It just brought me right back into that. And it was fantastic. Just the way he grabs him by the throat and pulls him in, and just the movement of Happy and all that stuff. It was completely, because remember there was a scene where, it was Eddie was his name, right? Where he grabs Roger and he just pulls him in like that, grabs him by the neck. It was just like, oh, I'm in love with this. I'm in love with this. At that moment, that was it for me. So, really great. And, there was a big reveal at the end, and, cause Nick's like, why you don't come to me? Why can I see you? What is this? And Happy tells him why, and he's like, holy shit. But, it's great. It was entertaining all the way through. It's one of those where I was focused, I was paying attention, and I was having fun. And Meloni should be a little over the top. And if you look at, pictures from the comics, Happy looks exactly like he did in the comics. There's no discernible difference, honestly, except that he's 3-dimensional. Which is great. When you can do that, do it. Nick also looks like he does in the comics. Meloni looks like the Nick character. Obviously the face is a little bit different, but they got the hair perfect. Everything. It looks great. He kind of has this out of shape physique. And I mean, Maloney's known for being a buff guy, but he has a little bit of a gut going, and he's probably, he has to be around 50 now, if that's, I mean, Oz, God, how long ago was Oz? I know he's older than I am, but he has to be about 50. But yeah, he just fits it. You know, he's not that young, good-looking buff guy character in this. He's a mess. He's a drunk. He's a disaster. And, you know, health problems and all that shit. And it's really great. I'm excited for next week. And just everything about it was so fun. So, you know, highly recommended. Go check it out. And if you don't have cable, get the SYFY app. You don't have to log in, which is cool. And it says, you know, available for a year, but don't wait on it, man. You know, I know a lot of people like to sit and wait and binge. There is something to be said for watching an episode a week. You know, there might be bits that you forget, but you get to digest it a little bit. And it brings up anticipation. You know, when Hulu did that with The Path, and every week, or like 11/22/63, they weren't dropping them all at once. It makes you like, ooh, can't wait. The day it drops, you're like, yes, okay, it's Monday, it's Tuesday, whatever the day is, you know? You're like, exciting. So, you know, get on it now and watch it as it goes, you know? And I mean, I get that with the superhero shows that the kid and I watch, you know, all the CW stuff. It's just like, ooh, exciting. It's Wednesday, we sit down, we watch our shit for the week, you know? So, yeah, it's a fun watch. I highly, highly recommend Happy. Go get it. Now, speaking of cartoons and silliness and comic books, you can go to bunny17media.com and get 15% off of every book we have over there. Twisted Magic is a comic book that we have there. I have nothing to do with this book. I did not write it. I did not draw it. It is not my idea. But it is on bunny17media.com. I know I've said before, you know, that's my label, but Dalen Vieker, who participates in this show and website, he is the artist on the book, and Kalani Nazaro is the writer on the book, and they took a really different approach to this, and it's very cool. Instead of panels, it's like almost every page is a splash, and which means it's a full page drawing, if you don't know the terminology there. But it still carries all of the same amount of content if it were to go panel to panel. It's just a completely different style of doing it. So it's it's really cool. Of course, full of magic, and it's basically like everything you know is wrong. Now what do you do? How do you live your life? How do you make the changes needed to fit into this new bizarre universe? It's really it's a fun book, and they're working on the second one. And because the style is so different, at the back of the book you get the outline for it, the script, just to see how it was done. So it's kind of fun, and I like that idea. You know, pulling the curtain back a little bit and go, hey, we did it differently, so here you go. And they did a great job together. It was a true collaboration to get this done. So, it wasn't like, hey, I wrote it, here, now draw, which is kind of what I do with Dalen. Here, I wrote Blasto, draw it. It wasn't like that at all for them. They really worked back and forth with this thing, and it turned out a unique product. So check out Twisted Magic, get 15% off of that and anything in the store. Everything has an ebook version if you go that route, or paperback. So check that out, and that helps us, and keeps all of this going, because a portion of that does come back to the podcasting network. So I appreciate you doing that. Also, check out cinemaheadsheets.com for all the other podcasts and shows and articles and things like that, different reviews, and abnormalentertainment.com for all of our other podcasts on the network. So thank you again Happy. Go check it out on SYFY channel, and we will see you next time. Subscribe and download back episodes of Cinema Head Cheese the podcast, and read all of our movie reviews and news at cinemaheadcheese.com. Email us at cinemaheadcheese@yahoo.com. Search Cinema Head Cheese on Facebook and tweet us at CINHeadCheese. And for more podcasts, books, comics, blogs, and videos, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.